This is going to be your guide to using the Greatsword in New World Aeternum. So the Greatsword has dual scaling, Dexterity and Strength. So let's max out, well actually we're not maxing out our Strength. Let's put 350 points into Strength, then we can put the max into Dexterity and see where that lands us. So 2,008. Also we want to put a little, actually no, let's just go all in. So we have 2,019 damage on our Greatsword. Do we get more with 500 strength? No, it's actually way worse. There's no reason to have 500 strength on a dual scaling weapon. So yeah, we can max out Dexterity, and we can also kind of see the cost and benefits of what else we're gaining. So bonus backstab and headshot damage. I guess in like group content where you have a tank and then you're backstabbing and you just get that, whatever. 15% duration to damage over time effects. We're not applying those. Stamina, not full damage, kind of happens. Full health, and then critical hit chance. So we're not really getting anything out of the Dexterity tree. We're just finding damage. And then we go 25 intelligence. We don't need constitution, and all of this is looking good. Now I'm actually re-recording this part because in the middle of my recording last time, I realized the best way of describing playing Greatsword is at your Generation 6 competitive Aegis Slash. And very few people are going to understand that. But if you know what it means you can have the offensive uptime and the defensive uptime at the same time with no drawbacks. You're not dealing less damage while taking too much more damage in this playstyle, which is why I like this setup right here. That you can go all in on Defiance and be a tank, and that's a very valid playstyle we will talk about. But I don't think it's worth going all into Onslaught. Like the single target on Skyward Slash is like, whatever. Crosscut, like, it sounds big, where it's like, whoa, 110, 130, 160. You can also get Leeching Crosscut perk, and you're just doing, like, crazy stuff. And all these other things, you get Grit, and the final strike gets base damage. But it doesn't hit as many things as you want it to hit. And then Relentless Rush has a really good split. So, oh, you get 10% Empower, just for free like that. And depending on your stance, you can get Rooting or Healing, but you want that heal. So you use a Defiant ability, and then you pop out of it with the Relentless Rush. Now you're in Onslaught, and so you're just straight into damage, and you also got a lot of healing, and also you have cooldown reduction, so you get to weave abilities like crazy. And then the way you want to play this with the Defiant stance is you have Calamity Counter, which is just an active block. So blocking, or attacking within 3 seconds of a block, gives you 15% healing. We also just have base 5% healing by going into this tree, which is great. And then we still have like healing, we're getting bleeding effects, we have cooldown reduction, all other Greatsword abilities on the second hit of Steadfast, so your Relentless Rush is always coming up all the time. You can also like mega crit with this because you're doing attacks. You're taking a little bit of extra damage with the damage taken, but then like when you're too swamped, you just swap straight into the Calamity Counter, you get all the enemies off you, and because you were in Onslaught stance, you just get crit. So you can run any primary weapon that scales. Like if you want to have a Dexterity build and then you splash in some Strength and then run Greatsword, you can just do whatever. So like, yeah, you use all of your abilities, you pop off with your other weapon, and then you switch in, and that's going to give you the immediate Defiant stance, again, to get people off you, to get that blocking, and then you can do this for the extra benefit, and then we swing out of it, and now we're just in it for the damage, and whenever we want to have a heavy attack, or whenever we want Onslaught, we can just bring it in with a heavy attack and stay into that. Also, heavy attacks and Defiant stance give you a block. Now, hitting an enemy will put you into Onslaught, but it also kind of gives you another option where it's like, oh man, I need to, you know, tank these hits a little bit extra. Boom, now we're in Onslaught, and now we're getting the Root instead of Lifesteal, depending on what we need, or we can just kind of keep playing around and then refreshing cooldowns. And it's just so fun to weave with this, and then you go back into your other weapon, and you just pop off with that. And again, it's just so fun to run the Greatsword. And I honestly believe that like 90% of tanks in this game are playing it wrong because they only think, oh, if I'm a tank, that means I need to have shield, and my taunting is going to be from hitting my sword on my shield, and then we're trying to be like super duper not taking damage on blocking. But no, I want to see the active tanks. I want to see full Defiance tree, taunt gem tanks running the Greatsword, doing crazy stuff, and having infinite sustain. Because that's like another thing. You find so much sustain inside of this tree as well. You can also block ranged attacks with the Greatsword. So if you're playing like, again, full defensive tree, there's probably a couple of things you want. So at the very least, you want heavy blade, and then with the unflinching blade, you're just always blocking on every attack. And stamina kind of gets weird, so anything that gives you like stamina regeneration is going to be nice. You won't need the aggressive shift. Then it's like you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then everything defensive over here. And now like you're just taking care of yourself because you're just doing the really cool, like this is just the coolest part where it's like, oh, you're blocking, you have a shield up while attacking, and then you can also use abilities that inflict a taunt, and then you're just sitting there tanking. And you probably want to go more into Constitution, more into heavy armor, but that would be like the really cool thing. Is like, I want to see more Greatsword tanks out there taking care of themselves, maybe need a little bit of healing, a little bit of support from the healer, then letting like the DPS just kind of pop off, while also providing a significant amount of damage and still taunt effects. And again, just like, yeah, I'm fine, don't worry, I'm blocking everything, we're good out here. Maybe you find a secondary weapon that gives you a lot of stamina regen, like you just flash into a sword and shield, that way you can shield rush, and then that gives you 15 stamina, and if you have a shield active for a brief amount of time, then you can have like a regenerating stamina effect on your shield, and then you just like 90% of the time you're in Greatsword tanking, because it's still a block. If you eat hits, the block is going to drain your stamina. And it might not even be sword and shield. There might be like some other weird weapon that gives you a surprising amount of stamina at some point for doing something. Like that would be really weird, where you just go like Cyclone, you hit multiple people and then you just get 50 stamina. So you like drop all of your spear abilities and then you're like, all right, back into Greatsword. I've got my stamina back. Cool. That also means like stamina stuff on the gear could be useful. So yeah, the Greatsword is really, really cool. Since it's heavy attacks, we want to have Trenchant Strikes. Keen is always good to have. Can also have Life Stealing. I like Mortal Empower because you kill something and then now you're just like super duper strong. Keenly Jagged here, it's kind of a take what you can get. You don't need it, but you are critting a lot. So against like named enemies and single target stuff, it's like, actually, this is just good DPS. Again, you don't need it, but it's nice to have. Refreshing Move is also good. So yeah, you just have like a strong weapon. If you don't have Blood Drinker, if you don't have Life Stealing is also good. It's like Keen, Trenchant, Lifesteal, perfect. Trenchant, Mortal Empower, Lifesteal, perfect. As for your secondary, it's mostly here for like Magnify stats or also other stats, maybe some kind of synergy. Odo's Punishment, 20% damage on stunned or knocked down foes. So it's kind of like a secondary in some situations. And if you also have someone else in the group that's like running a hammer and stunning people, Odo's secondary while you're just like doing AoEs on a melee, you can do that. It's actually just good. Divine incoming healing effects is your life stealing and your healing perks from your Greatsword. Refreshing, regenerating, refreshing toast, fun stuff. Health, I don't really care for Alchemist Reprieve once you get the Blood Drinker, like you're not drinking potions too much to where it doesn't really matter. So then defensive perk where it's like slash protection or a protection against the mutation you're going up against is going to be good. Toon Leather Pants just giving us the most stats since we're double dipping into dexterity and strength. Even though it only converts in probably like 3% damage, it's something. And then you can kind of put whatever you want on these things. Ignore whatever gems I have because it's late stage server and this is about to become legacy and I'm also slowly running out of money. So I mean, like what you want is you want punishing. You put punishing on everything. If you're all in on like melee with Greatsword and you're just getting the percent bonus damage, I like retaliate because you're going to be in fights, you're going to be taking hits. It says gain a stack after blocking or taking a hit. So you're blocking everything. You just got 24% permanent damage uptime. Sounds really good. And then this is just like, strength gear. If you get enchanted, that's cool. If you get luck, it just means like you can get pop-off drops and make all of your money back, and that's really nice. Empowering Breaker. Your attacks are just going to get blocked by stuff. So that's good to have. And the nice thing about the Greatsword, no perks. Leeching Crosscut is kind of the best, but I told you we're not running Crosscut. Relentless Freedom, you get rid of Root and Slow, and you get some critical chance. I mean, like, if you find it, it's not the worst thing to have. Like, if you have Enchanted Luck, Relentless Freedom, or Enchanted something, Relentless Freedom, yeah, sure, take it. Actually, Energizing Counter, if you're running tank build, is a must. But if you're just kind of running, like, damage mixed hybrid Greatsword, it's good, again, if you have it, but it's not a must. And then, like, these things just aren't must, where it's like, Steadfast Strike reduces debuff duration. But, you know, we're just kind of tanking things anyways. Slowing Rupture, that's more like PvP stuff. And Rupture for tank is already taunting, so, yeah. Not a lot. But I guess in mutations, debuff removal is pretty good, so Yeah. But maybe in, like, mutations, debuff removal is good, so that's something to consider. And then again, like, Onyx if you just need to be tankier, Pearl if you're out here farming in-game content, and then punishing Rune Glass so you get the most damage out of it, regardless of your stance. Oh wait, I had Constitution food when I was building this out. Gross, so we can actually get more damage. I mean, look at that. Our raw strength is already 378. So yeah, everything else into Dexterity. And again, it's like, oh, we only gain, like, very little in the end. I guess, like, actually the Constitution's probably fine, and it's a cheaper food, and it means you don't die immediately. Because it kind of shows, like, well, if we're balancing out our soft caps, we don't get anything back. We get, again, 2-3% damage. Now, what about the Greatsword artifact? It's busted, but it is a pain in the ass to get because it's on the PvP track. Now, if you're just dedicated PvP, eventually this is going to pop up. I think you need, like, a certain PvP level threshold, and then, like, there's a rare chance it appears. You grab that immediately because you get Trenchant Strikes, Trenchant Crits, Refreshing Move. I put the Gem Socket in because, again, it's like, oh, 25%. Damage like that. The best thing here is gem setting pins on the upgrade, and then you get Empower in offensive stance and Fortify in defensive stance for 5 seconds just for free while on this. And it's also a maxed out sword that has strikes and refreshing move and crit. It's perfect. It's so beautiful. But if you want to go main Greatsword, this is a must, and you're going to have to learn PvP to get there. So let's do it. Also, how does it make you feel that I used a transmog token to turn my Serenity into an iron sword? I think it looks dope that way. So even when I'm using Serenity, I mostly have the Great Axe first, or like, it's not my primary weapon. But in this case, I'm going to give like primary weapon examples. So here we go. Onslaught stance, and then we slash through, we get all of our health. And then if we get crowded, oh, what's that? Eventually, Calamity Counter goes off, and then we got our tank stuff. And then we just need to swing through, get all of our health back. And then now we're just kind of wrecking things on cooldown with the big hits, and it's all right. So your abilities are mostly there for like when things kind of get rough, instead of, oh, I just need to spam my abilities on cooldown. And the damage numbers on this are ridiculous. So yeah, it kind of depends on the situation, but also if you're just attacking, you can usually get enough health back, but even then, some things do a lot of damage. And if you can get a bigger Calamity Counter, then that's when you get the knockdown. That's when Odo can come in if you're not using Serenity. But as you can see, like, it's a little risky here with our health. So some Constitution, actually not a bad thing. More Enchanted Ward, because we're just out here running luck gear as well. But also just kind of shows, like, even though we're living life on the edge, this is the damage, and this is what we're getting away with pearls on our gear. Not Rune Glass, not Onyx, pearls. If you're tanking 200 Constitution, maybe you go higher if you're in a group. But if, like, you're solo tank or something, then yeah, that's going to keep you healthy through pretty much everything. Then you just find, like, strength and dexterity breakpoints that feel good. The thing is, like we talked about, dexterity doesn't have good buffs. So it's like, oh, 5% damage while stamina's not full. Maybe you just cut it off there and then the rest into strength. Maybe even, I don't even know, like, dexterity doesn't do anything here, and it's also lower scaling. So until you hit the soft cap, you can still go very heavy strength investment with 200 Constitution. Now you're like extra duper tanky, and then you're still playing damage. Also, if you have something like the Void Dark Plate, it's even better for survivability if you're in there as a melee. Full heavy loadout is probably crazy, even with the damage reduction, because as you can see, we're still doing crazy amounts of damage. Just gonna wait for some of these guys to catch up. Then we're just going to do the Great Axe, Greatsword combo. That's probably gonna be its own guide at some point. But yeah, like, see, like, the Greatsword takes care of everything, and then, oh no, I got swamped. Never mind, we're back to full. It's cool. So, like, just in case you're getting staggered too much, it can also be nice to have for the Greatsword. And then you get into Defiant Stance, you start blocking. The stamina damage isn't really too bad. And then you're able to just get a couple attacks and you're back up. GG easy. So we look frail, but with proper play, everything is okay. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.